Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tim Gillette back here with another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. So today I get to bring a Dallas local favorite of mine, Steve Kuntz, I've known Steve probably 8 years or so here in the Dallas area. You know what I mean? We're involved a lot with a lot of local marketers, a lot of local people who have meetups, and it's like we've been connected for this 8 years, and every time we run into each other, it's always like, hey, it's good to connect and talk and see what each other is doing, and we're always progressing and moving forward. And he's got some new stuff going on, and why not bring him on the show and find out about him? So Steve and I'm thinking, Steve, I think it's been 8 years. You'll probably correct me when you get on the screen here, but we met through some other people who have meetup groups, and it's unique when you meet people, and you get to be friends with them, and then you find out other interests you have back and forth. And let's find out more about Steve today. So, hey, Steve.
Hey, Tim. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
I have a coworker here, so this is one of my coworkers here. So,
is it coworker or is it the boss? Let's be honest.
This is one of the bosses here. He's a big baby. This is Zad.
Yeah.
So if he gets in the way, I might have to shoo him away here. But the other one's sleeping somewhere, so they run the show. I'm just here to feed them. So
yes. So yeah, are your cats wondering at this point in time, like mine is, going on? I mean, what are you people all doing here during the day in my house? Yeah.
Yes. Even though I've been working from home for the last couple of years, I'm usually not home this much, so they're getting pretty spoiled.
So my wife's home as well, so it's like that's the confusion to our cat. Like, wait a minute, there's two of you here, so if I beg one of you constantly, I can get fed again, right? Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. These two are about 25 pound each, I think. So they're yeah.
I think ours actually went to how let me find out. How much does Safu weigh, honey? Oh, maybe she's got her earphones in. She's probably plugged in and can't hear me, but she just took him to the vet last week. You know what I mean? In this mess, she had to take him to the vet.
Yeah.
And they told us he was underweight. They used to tell us he was overweight, so we limited his food. And now they're saying he's underweight. And anyway, we can't go wrong. Yeah. So Steve, man, you know what I mean? It's going back a long ways. I was trying to calculate it this morning when I was figuring out. It's probably been 8 years, 9 years. I
was thinking about that last night. It's probably getting close to 10, actually. I was trying to remember the actual date. You have that book in the background there, that red book.
Yeah.
You can always get what you want.
Yeah.
And I think one of the first times I had talked to you officially was when that book came out, because I remember buying that book and taking it on a plane with me on a trip I was going and reading it. So it would be around that time.
That was, I think the book was published in 2013.
Okay.
I wrote it in 2012.
Okay.
And it's been quite a few years, and I think I don't know if it was it Lisa's group that we met, or was it
you were speaking at one of her Rocks Digital conferences, I think, and you had a booth out front, and I had said hi to you a few times around town at different tech events, but I think I formally introduced myself probably at that event to you, and I remember buying a couple of your books and like I said, taking them on a plane and reading them.
Yeah, it was interesting. Some of those conferences are interesting, and you had a meetup group too for a while, didn't you? Weren't you social?
I had the Dallas SEO meetup group that I had taken over from an individual and ran for about 7 or 8 years, and just gave that up last year. But yeah, it was a good ride, and met some great people through there. Dallas is a real small community when it comes to tech, so you pretty much run into everyone around town and you get to know them. And a lot of people don't know that Dallas is really like an epicenter for digital marketers and SEO talent. I mean, there's some of the best SEO talent in the country is in the DFW area.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? When it comes to me, it's like I was the oddball because like I had all this marketing stuff, but I didn't know a thing about tech. But yet everybody in those meetups thought I did. I'm like, no, I'm just a marketer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think it's switched a little bit more. There's not a lot of new things going on in the SEO world. It's more about I think the digital marketing aspect of it now.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the meetup group, did somebody else take it over or you just give it up?
Actually, Joe Youngblood, who you may know.
Oh, yeah. I know Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to get him on this show, man.
You do. He jumped in and took it over, and he's got some good plans for it. And then, unfortunately, the world changed here a couple months ago, and that put a hinder on some of it. But I just talked to him the other day. He's got some really good ideas planned. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, Joe, that's that's a group that I should we should do something, partner with my one group that I have, because I took over a group last year that was called iNet here.
Okay.
And I don't know who had it before me, but like when I looked at it, okay, you got 1,800 people in the Dallas area, you have a meeting space, and you just gave it up. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Call somebody and ask somebody to take the reins of it. They didn't, so I just took it over.
Yeah.
We rebranded it because I needed something with my new trademark onto it. So we rebranded it, but it's still online education and networking, but it just has my brand name onto it now. And
I think we had you speak one time at my meetup. I remember.
I could have. I don't remember all the ones. I've spoken at a lot of meetups here in Dallas. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, there's a great community of marketers. And I know, I think Lisa's conference is now designed, or her social media rocks is now digital rocks.
Yeah.
And it's more geared around the local search scene.
Yes.
All right. And it's a neat twist that she took that conference to, you know what I mean? And all the people that we know, in the area, that was a lot of their focus was going that way anyway. So, yeah. So, you've been in that space. You were doing that. All right. What are you up to now, man? What are you doing now?
So I was in the retail space, the tech world I was a programmer for about 29 years.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for 3 different companies. I worked for Electronic Data Systems for about 8.5 years in their healthcare. I was with Neiman Marcus for almost 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was much short of that. And then I was with Zales Jewelry.
Yeah.
Money was really good, and I was in it 29 years, but I was like, I'm getting burned out. Stress was getting pretty bad. I was like, I want to do something different. So to be 2 years in July, I actually made the big step of walking away from IT. It's like 51 years old, and I'm like, man, what am I doing? I'm going to be a first-time entrepreneur at like 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Scared out of my mind to try it. So I walked away from IT about 2 years ago. I was working on building up my Amazon business. I was trying to scale that, knowing I wasn't going to be able to replace my income that I had before necessarily. But so I had that business going in the background for 4 or 5 years, and I was working on scaling it. It wasn't really scaling like I wanted to. So I actually ran into a guy I hadn't seen in a couple of years from meetup groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew he did commercial real estate. And I ran into him, just a random thing at a grocery store. It was so weird. I was walking out and I looked over and I saw him sitting there, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and we're like mouthing each other's name. And he's like, this is like last 2 years, December. He's like, man, what are you up to? And I'm like, I left my job, took the big leap, and I'm working on building my Amazon business, but it's not scaling like I want. So he's like, well, have you ever thought about commercial real estate? I'm like, no, not really. So we looked at a few opportunities, nothing really panned there. And then he's like, have you ever thought about buying into a franchise? And I'm like, no. And he's like, I've got some interesting opportunities that I've just learned about. So we explored some of that. And long story short, this month here, it's been a year since I signed on with Diesel Barbershop.
Okay.
So they are out of San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have 6 corporate stores in San Antonio. They've sold about 100 franchise licenses around the country. They've opened about 16 locations around the country. There are 2 in the Metroplex right now. There's one in McKinney and one in Frisco. There's 3 brothers that own those, and I purchased one,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been my sole purpose pretty much in life the last year. It's been an interesting ride
Mm-hmm.
to get to this point.
So, I mean, you have a barber shop and you come on a show with a guy who hasn't cut his hair in years. Is that a way to get new customers or what?
In need of a haircut. It's been 2 months since I had my haircut. We're not open yet. We're hopefully finishing construction here in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
With all the Corona stuff going on. Construction has continued, which has been surprising. The city of Dallas is letting construction continue, and they are doing inspections. But we're hoping to finish the first week or 2 in May, and then we'll see what Governor Abbott comes up with here in a couple of days, and hopefully he'll open some of the country up a little bit, or the state, and we'll be able to start hiring. And I'm really hoping in June we can open up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I it's funny because I had talked and considered cutting the hair off, especially in this mess, because now my whole world is getting up and marketing online every day. As before, I only had to do certain days and certain things, and like every day I'm on camera, and I'm like, this is not like, I don't like getting this ready every day anymore. I want to cut it off.
I usually get my hair cut every 3 weeks, so going 2 months has been it's driving me crazy. I think everyone is. I'm thinking what's going to happen is they're probably going to open up salons and barbershops, but it's probably going to be a very isolated appointment only.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be additional sanitation, mask and everything. So I think it's going to happen. I think people are really itching to get their hair cut, but I think it's going to have to be very controlled.
Oh yeah, that was what I was wondering. One of the things I was wondering in the beginning was, could you have your hairstylist come to your house and do it for you, type deals?
Yeah, I don't think that's something. I've seen some stories where people have got in trouble by doing that. I don't think it's something that's supposed to be occurring, but I think there are little pockets out there of people that are doing individual haircuts at their own houses and stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Letter of the law.
My mom did offer to cut it, but that scares me.
I actually got so tired of all the junk on the sides here. I took some clippers that I had, and I did the sides a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks terrible. So I just stopped.
Yeah.
So it did not look good.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know Chris Brogan. I'm friends with him online. Yeah. And Chris, like, he just said, screw this. He just shaved it all off.
I'm seeing a lot of people, their spouses, significant others, are doing first-time haircuts, and it's pretty funny to see most of the time what they end up doing is just cutting it all off, because usually it doesn't go well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, mine, this started, mine was like, my hair was normal in 2005 and 6. And back then I was working at Starbucks, and I just one day got so fed up with it. I just forget this. I can't get it right. Every time I can't stand going to the barber, so I just buzzed it all off, right? And it wasn't a week later that into my Starbucks walks this hairstylist with beautiful long red hair, or long the blondish hair, he had like red and purple like things into it. And it was a guy, and I just, man, I love your hair. I wish I could grow my hair like that. He says, I'm a hairstylist. Here's my card. We can grow it that way.
I saw your driver's license picture with the short hair there.
Yeah,
that was a little shocking.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's literally. I mean, when I had my car business in 2001, I mean, I had long hair when I moved here in '98, but like I cut it off and had short hair all the way up to 2005. But like, it's different years I would do things like I'd just let it grow, and then eventually after 2 or 3 years I'd cut it off. And this is the longest stretch I've kept it, from 2005 until now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's 15 years I've had long hair. But in this current situation that we're in, all right, and you getting ready to go into the barber business, and I'm sure, you know, with franchise, you've laid out some money on this. Are you fearful on how this is going to take off for you?
Well, you know, one of the things I had looked at was, you know, since I've done a lot of Amazon businesses, I told myself I was never going to go into the brick and mortar world, um, unless it was a service industry that people needed and that Amazon hadn't figured out yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So as of now, Amazon hasn't figured out how to cut your hair. They probably will. You know, there'll probably be a point where you can go into a grocery store and it'll be Amazon sponsored and get your hair cut. But so one of the big factors I looked at was, you know, I didn't want to go into traditional brick and mortar store unless I was able to find an opportunity that was service based, that wasn't a bar, wasn't a restaurant. You know, the failure rate on those is high. So when I had this opportunity that came up, I'm like, huh, everyone needs to get their hair cut. They generally get their hair cut, you know, every 3 or 4 weeks. If you're like me, you know, you find a stylist you like, you pretty much follow them around the town. You know, they always say, we're never going to leave. And then you know, after a year or two, they whisper in your ear, I'm moving down the street. Here's my card.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
you know, people are pretty loyal when they find a good stylist. So I was very interested in the model. Diesel is basically like a man cave. So we specialize in men's short hair, beards. We've got rock and roll music. This would be right up your alley. We've got rock and roll music. We've got video games. When you come in, you can play. We offer you a complimentary beer. It's just a great environment. A lot of chrome and rock and roll music playing. You know, Craftsman toolkits are the workstations. A lot of cool music going on. So it's a real cool atmosphere, and I was really drawn to that. I went through the process of, you know, series of 6 or 7 calls with the franchise that was not high pressure at all. You know, I kept saying, you know, I'm not sure I want to do this yet. It's a lot of money. Let me think about it. You know, I'm very cautious that way. And last year I kept going through the process, and I really liked the people, and went down to San Antonio a couple times, met the owner down there, a gentleman named Shane Brown. He's out of San Antonio. And he was in the corporate world for many years, finance, and he decided to get out of that. And I think his mom was a beautician for years, and he wanted to go with like a man cave kind of environment, rock and roll music, and I liked the concept. I felt real comfortable, and I decided to, you know, to invest. Unfortunately, everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to be able to go to the SBA, and they're handing out money." This was like a year or two ago. So I'm like, "Oh, no problem. Going to be able to go in there and get tons of money." First thing they ask you when you go in there, and I learned a great lesson, is we need 2 years of your W-2 forms. No problem. Looks great. Oh, by the way, we need 2 years of W-2s as a self-employed individual.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, ooh, I just left my job 6 months ago. They're like, boom, right off. So that was a shocker to me. You know, everyone's saying, oh, SBA, they won't, you know, encourage small business. But first question, you go in there, can we see 2 years of W-2s? And I'm like, sure, here they are. They look great from an IT world. And they're like, we need 2 years from self-employed, which wasn't physically possible. So that was disheartening. I went through several rounds of that, and that was frustrating. And what I ended up doing is actually ended up dipping into my IRA and funding my business through that, and something called a ROBS program. I don't know if your viewers are familiar with that. I learned about it. Basically, the ROBS program is rollover of business startup. So the government will allow you to dip into your IRA and not penalize you if you form a C corp. It has to be a C corp. So basically, what you do is, say I wanted to take out $200,000 or $300,000. Normally, I would be taxed at 24% plus 10% penalty because I'm not 59 and a half years old yet.
Yeah.
I'm getting close, but. So what they'll do for you is they will allow you to take that money out with no penalty, but you have to form a C corp, not an not an LLC or an S corp, but a C corp. And then basically you take that money, there's no penalty, and you move it over into a C corp, and that's how you fund your business. But it has to be a C corp. It's very regulated. But I found that opportunity in working with the franchise, and that's how I was able to fund my business. But yes, it was a big leap because I'd worked hard for 29 years to build up a pretty substantial nest egg, and to take half of it out to start the business. Yeah, it was, again, that 51, 52 years old, it's like almost starting over. But I'll tell you, this is the best ride I've had in probably 2 years. I mean, it's the scariest and the best. I would have never thought at this point, 51, 52 years old, I'll be 53 this month, that I would have gone through a first-time entrepreneur basically at this age. So it's been a learning experience. I'm learning about IRAs and C Corps and stuff that, you just think everyone knows, right? And you'd be amazed how many people don't really understand their IRAs and how they work. And it's been a ride, man. It's been a big fun ride. So I've had a blast the last year.
Cool. So when you look at this, all right, and so you have blast, you found a way to do this through the years, all right. When you're in the IT field, did you have like a mentor as a child or as a young adult that said something to you that has been a driving point?
I can't think of an individual in the tech world per se, but probably my parents were. Unfortunately, my dad passed away about 23 years ago, but my mom is still alive, and they've always been encouraging to me growing up. And I grew up in North Dakota in a small little town, and my parents were always, you can do whatever you want. You can always leave, but you can always come back. They always encouraged me to get out, explore the world, find an opportunity. And I still appreciate, my mom for that today. I actually just talked to her a few minutes ago. She just turned 80. And I'm like, I'm going to be on the Tim Gillette show. And she's like, how do I get on that? So hopefully, Mom, you're listening and you were able to click on the link. But I would say early on, it would be my parents. They encouraged me to, moving away from North Dakota was a big thing. Like a lot of kids don't do that. So I moved away, and it's been 29 years, and I've pretty much been down in Dallas that whole time. And I thought I'd be down here for a couple months or a year, but 29 years later, I'm still here. But they were probably the biggest encouragement in my life about, just getting out there and just doing some things, trying some different things. So I still appreciate that today. Growing up in North Dakota, there's great people there. You have those hometown values. It's a small town, but you know everyone. I mean, I grew up in a class of like 42 people.
Wow.
My class was 42. I'm still friends with pretty much all of them. So, when you grow up in an area like that, you really, I think you grow up right. You learn what's right and wrong in values. And to this day, I still try to, apply that. So I would say my parents were probably the biggest factors in that.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? Wow. I was gonna say, how long have you been in Dallas? But 29 years you've been here. Wow. You've got me by 10 almost. I've been here almost 21 years. I think I've been here. And it's just, I never thought I was, Dallas was going to be where I was going to be at, but like I found this town interesting.
Yeah.
What is it that you found interesting about Dallas that made you stay?
Well, obviously the weather is one of the factors. Growing up in North Dakota, it's interesting because it'd be 30 below in January with a wind chill on top of that and snow up to here. I really like the people here. I think a lot of people you meet here, it's very rare you meet anyone that's from Dallas. Actually, I haven't met that many people actually. But the first thing I think you hear from a lot of people that come here is they feel comfortable here. It doesn't feel pretentious. I really felt comfortable. I felt at home here. I like the people. Obviously, the weather was a factor. I got involved in the tech community early on. And like I said, Dallas is, several million people with all the suburbs, but you really feel like everyone in the tech community here because they all travel in the same circles.
Yeah.
And, I was here for years and years before I joined a meetup. And I wish that's something I would have done earlier, because I've met some of the best people through various meetups, including yourself.
Yeah.
So I really like the people here. I think it's a good place to live. The economy's good. Housing is relatively cheap compared to other parts of the country. Obviously, the weather's a factor, and that's just kept me here. I really like the people here, to be honest with you. And it's like a small town feeling in the suburbs here, and local coffee shops. You and I have met at a few of those, and I just like the vibe. There's good people here. I enjoy it.
I mean, I love that's probably the two biggest features is the weather and the connections with the people that I do know here. So, and it is great. I also like the fact that, it's a central hub.
Yes.
All right. And you got to get on a plane to be either coast. It's a 3-hour flight.
I live 5 minutes from DFW Airport now.
Yeah. We're 30 minutes from Love Field, and we always fly out of Love Field with Southwest. So yeah. Well, here we go. Looks like, is that your mom?
Hey,
this is what happened when moms listen in. Yeah. So I always tell people, so my first podcast that I ever did, I can tell you who the 5 people were that were listening. One of them was my mom. Yeah.
I tell you, the first, that first meetup that I helped out with, and then I eventually took over. Literally, there was 2 of us at a Korean bakery off of Royal, like 10 years ago, and that's how that I didn't start the meetup, I took it over, but that was the start of that meetup. Literally, it was this other girl and I and the founder in a Korean bakery in the back room. It was amazing how far that went from just that initial meeting. So yeah.
It's funny. I think the first meetup that I joined was a networking group in McKinney, Texas. That they're no longer. But one of the girls that ran that I'm still connected to her. 13 years later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, the connections I made 13 years ago, I'm still connected to. As a matter of fact, her company put the garage door opener in our garage when we built this, when we were rebuilding this place, this condo. And yeah, it was her company. It's just like it's just that connectivity of people, and you never know who's going to meet. Now I'm connecting into groups that I never realized that were there.
Yeah,
because I'm like, well, that kind of relates to what I do. So and it's, you sit down and over a tea or a coffee or a hamburger.
you'd be amazed at all the people that you meet that have never even heard of, like Meetup. And Meetup's just basically a portal to form groups, but any kind of topic you can think of, of course, now with Corona and stuff, that's put a little hamper on meetup groups and stuff. But, if you're a chess player, if you like to dance, I mean, you pretty much can find a meetup and discover new things. So that, to be honest with you, that was the biggest factor in meeting new people in the Metroplex for me in the tech world. Like I said, I'm still very close to people I've met 10 years ago. Stephanie Inge, who I think her daughter Brooklyn Callaway, I met them through meetups 10 years ago, eBay meetups. I still do some presentations for them, some Amazon stuff. So that has been the biggest factor in getting out and meeting people, and still have these bonds with these people 10 years later.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool to see the people out there, and I mean, I the world I'm connected to, and the speakers, same thing. A whole group of people who we speak for a living, and as majority of our business, and all of us know almost everybody in the meetup groups, because we're all going, well, when the meetup presenter comes to us, well, who else in your field can come share?
Right.
We pull out a Rolodex of people we know, because that's it.
And you say that because I still have maybe once a week someone contacting me and saying, hey, do you know a SEO person? Do you know a web developer? Do you know a digital marketer? And, and I have a stack of business cards or a mental Rolodex.
Yeah.
And I just like, hey, yeah, and I, throw those names out. So you're able to, get some pretty good referrals that
Yeah.
way too. And
Yeah. So, yeah, my wife got a phone call downstairs, so now she's gonna get loud. She has no idea how loud she gets. But anyway, it's it's interesting though. I mean, when you look at where the path that got you from tech world to now going into the barbershop business, did you ever, when you came here 29 years ago to think, yeah, someday I'm going to cut hair for a living?
well, unfortunately, I'm not going to be cutting hair because I'm not a licensed
Yeah,
barber.
licensed barber. Yeah.
But I'd say that's the first question people ask me when I tell them what I'm doing now. They're like, how in the world did you get from IT to having a barber shop? Like I said, it's been a fun ride. And I encourage, I think when we get to this age, you and I think, are about the same age. People have been, in their industries for a long time, and they're getting to that point where they're making really good money, but they're really burned out, just mentally burned out. But they're scared to make that big leap at this age, in their 50s. So I think that's been one of the biggest things that I encourage a lot of my friends who are in that same boat. They've been in their industries forever. They feel like they can't leave their industries because, hey, I've been in this industry forever. I can't start over at 50 years old. I can't go do something different. And I was the same way. I remember talking to some of my friends, and I'm like, there's no way at 50, 51 years old, I can leave my IT job making really good money and go do something totally different. And they're like, why not? I'm like, because can't do that. That's not me. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it has been probably the best thing I've done, and also the scariest thing. And then especially when all Corona started and stuff, and all the lockdowns, I'm like, whoa, where's that going to put me when we come out of this? But I think we're going to start seeing some encouraging things about opening things back up, and hopefully in June we'll be able to start hiring, and hopefully in May even, and open up, and people are itching to get their haircut. So I'm really excited about the location we're at. We're over off Hillcrest Village, the old Hillcrest Village shopping center, and they're doing a redevelopment over there. So the city of Dallas is investing about $5 million into the park over there. They're building a park in the middle of the U shape of that complex. It's going to be a 1.5 acre park. So they're bringing park back into the city. So it's going to be exciting. It's coming along really, really great. A lot of new restaurants are going to be over there. It's going to be a big draw to the neighborhood. So a lot of good stuff going on over there, and I'm excited to be part of it. And it's going to be a fun ride. It's been an interesting journey the last year. I've learned probably more in the last year about finance and IRAs and funding and stuff more than I had in the first 29 years in my professional career. So it's been a ride, man. It's been an interesting ride.
So, there's a lot of people out there who are going to have to look to readjust or maybe look for new businesses. All right. And coming out of this, what would be your advice to them right now as they're about to? Some of them are going to be forced to find opportunities like you did. What's your advice to them?
So I actually did a presentation a couple weeks ago to eBay Group. We did a Zoom. So that was like my first Zoom that I had run. And the topic was sourcing in the Corona world. So basically, the eBay Group is a little older clientele in that group, 50s, 60s. So a lot of those people were used to going out to, stores to buy stuff, estate sales and so forth. So my topic and what I presented to them was basically different ways of sourcing online and so forth. But one of the biggest takeaways from that was what we're seeing right now is, since everyone is sort of sheltered in place around the country, the biggest thing that you're seeing now is, activity kits for kids, video games for kids. But one of the biggest things you're seeing is everything in this world, your electronic headsets, your wireless stuff. one of the biggest opportunities that I'm seeing out there now is obviously the people working at home, people doing podcasts, the people doing Zoom sessions. There is a whole new world, Tim. It's weird because that world was there before, but we never really had a lot of emphasis on it. But now everything is pretty much virtual. There are people that are finding so many new opportunities to do everything through your Zooms, through your StreamYards, and they're turning these opportunities into virtual opportunities and selling, software, headsets and stuff. It's a whole new world that's opened up to people. Your training and everything is going more back into online. It's fascinating to see all the people that are stuck at home doing, virtual Zoom sessions and stuff now that are looking at not ever going back into a physical work location. And I see there being a lot of opportunities for new e-learning, just changing the model entirely. I think we're going to be in this world for a while, especially for the next year or so. But I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to take their skill sets and do it in a virtual world now. So I'm encouraging people to not limit themselves to traditional things and see what opportunities. I mean, it's so cheap to do. I mean, sign up for Zoom for, $15 a month, start doing training sessions. I think it's going to open up amazing opportunities for some people to do more at-home virtual work.
And do you see that do you see that, those Zooms, those trainings, those things like that, do you see them becoming now what us marketers really have been doing to get business for years? Do you see that as becoming the new marketing tool to then eventually lead into places like your brick and mortar store?
I see people doing, these conferences and stuff. I think maybe even the one, your blog world one, I think a lot of that's going to go more to an online atmosphere right now. You're going to have your marketers doing things online. You're going to be promoting your business, obviously online. But these kind of sessions where you have Zoom or marketing calls, I think are going to be more the norm than they ever were. People are just not going to be eager to get out there and go to movies probably for a while, to sporting events. I'm really looking for some creative ways to use Zoom sessions and other things to market my business, along with the other diesel barbershop owners in town. We're bantering back and forth some creative ways, maybe, some tutorials about, beards and stuff like that, some different ways to promote your business to get people to come back out to the brick and mortar stores. I think it's going to be a new education there. People are going to be very leery, to go out to these traditional retail locations still. And I think it's going to be a different world. And I'm really excited about some opportunities in this virtual world. Just think of that. Hey, I could, hey, Tim, what we see with you is, cut your hair here this way and maybe your beard this way. And visually show you some stuff and some products and some coupon codes and have them come in. I think there's a whole new world waiting there. It's been there for forever, but now it's more of an emphasis on it. And I see it being a really interesting marketing environment now.
Cool. Well, Steve, first of all, thank you for coming on the show today. What is the best way that people can reach you?
Probably the best way is just on Facebook. Look me up, Steve Kuntz, on Facebook. Will probably be the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So guys, reach out to Steve on Facebook. Steve, I like to close my show out with a little game. Have you heard about my game?
I have seen this before. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I've got a little list here. I learned this from Sammy Hagar. I watched him do it on TV and I thought, I'm cooler than Sammy Hagar. I could pull this off.
The Red Rocker.
No offense, Sammy. It's just my opinion. Because we know Sammy Hagar watches my podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Steve, I've got about 7 or 8 questions. Well, maybe about 9 here of this or that questions. I put 2 options out there. You tell me which one fits you both. Fits your choice there.
Okay.
So I like to start almost all of mine off with this one here, especially in the techie world. Always someone has opinion. Star Wars or Star Trek?
I got to go Star Trek.
Okay, so then that would mean you have to choose between Kirk or Picard.
Oh, Kirk.
All right, so you're the old school Star Trek
I'm
guy.
old. Hey, I'm going to be 53 this month. I'm old school.
Yeah. No. So then now you're gonna take a vacation. Well, not right now, but when we're allowed to take vacations again, are you gonna go to the beach or the mountains?
Mountains.
Mountains. Little cabin, fishing pole. What is it?
Oh, that sounds awesome, man. Just to get back to nature would be great.
Yeah, yeah. So, you worked in the tech world, all right. Are you a Mac guy or a PC guy?
I have never owned any Apple products in my life.
Wow.
I do not own a single Apple product.
Wow. That's interesting. Everything I have is Mac.
Never had any, not opposed to it, but I've never had any iPod, iPhone, nothing.
Cool.
An Android guy. Yeah.
Well, I should have put iPhone and Android in my choice there just to, but I like, every now and then, the tech, the people who've worked in tech, that's always the tech question I've got to throw in there. So,
PC,
so if we're going out to eat, are we going to have a taco or a hamburger?
Oh, I'm a big taco guy.
Yeah. Which tacos do you like here in town?
I really like some of the hole in the wall places over in like Grapevine. There's some of the really old school traditional places over there. So, it's nice to go to some of your, Fuzzy's Tacos and Velvet Taco and all those kind of places. But I really like some of the hole in the wall, authentic Mexican places.
Yeah. So did you freeze on me or you keep going? So, hey,
love that.
Yeah. I love Fuzzy's is my chain taco that I love, but yeah. All right. So now you're going to have a drink. We're going to have a glass of wine or a bottle of beer?
Oh, I'm a beer guy.
Beer. Cool. You're going for a ride in your car. Are you going to listen to a podcast or music?
Probably music.
Yeah, music guy. Cool. This next one here, these next ones here can actually create wars, as I've known. But pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Okay, quick story. I know we're running late, but I worked in a pizza shop, the famous pizza shop in Mayville, North Dakota. I worked there for 4.5 years. Okay, my pizza is Canadian bacon, pineapple, black olives, and sauerkraut. That is one of my all-time favorite. I'm German, so pineapple all the way in sauerkraut. Try it.
Because it's just like, so many people have the opinion on pineapple. Pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. You know what I mean?
Sauerkraut and Canadian bacon.
Never had sauerkraut on pizza, but I love sauerkraut. So I'm, Russian heritage. So yeah. So this next one here, if you have it right now, all right, it is a war. Another war is toilet paper. Does it go over or under?
Over.
Over? Okay.
Definitely. Under is weird.
Yeah.
It's got to be over.
And my last one, boxers or briefs?
Well, boxers.
Yeah. See, it wasn't that hard. Once again, Steve, where can they get a hold of you, man, if they want to find out more about you?
Best place is probably on Facebook. Easiest way to get a hold of me is Steve Kuntz on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And will the if they're in the Dallas area, will the listing be up for the Diesel Barbershop soon? Or
you can actually go out to dieselbarbershop.com, and there is a location page on there, and we're actually located on that page right now. Okay. And like I said, we're finishing up construction, hopefully in May. And if we open the world back up here, hopefully we start hiring in May and get open in June. And Tim, you're invited for a free haircut and
cool.
shave.
Yeah. That's the one thing I think that you'd scare your barber. I came in for a free haircut. But
you would fit the mode over there because you're a rocker. And
I got to come check it out when you open it up. Come on, man. We go way back.
You're invited.
Yep. All right. Well, I thank you, man, for being on my show today. I really appreciate you sharing with the audience your story and what you're up to now.
Appreciate it, Tim.
Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. I appreciate you tuning in. All right. Do me a favor. All right. Like us on Facebook and YouTube, and go subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast and Anchor FM. I'm Tim Gillette. I will see you guys next time with another great guest. Bye now.